What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Misc Gaming. Today we are going over the new refound TWAB, which I'm going to call the TWID BIT, and I will cover this weekly if there is any interesting Destiny 2 news. We do have a couple of things to go over, but keep in mind that I'm not going to go over every little detail of the TWAB, and I will have this as an edited version. Now I am going to jump around a little bit, and the first thing that really caught my eye with this TWID this week, so to speak, or the TWAB, whatever you want to call it. I guess it really doesn't matter. Now, one thing that really stuck out for me for the This Week at Destiny, one of the questions that they had from the dev insight was, are there any further exotic tuning planned for the future, and what's the thought process behind that? Just to give some context on timelines, we've just shipped Season 21. Season 22 is complete, Season 23 is in full production, and the final shape is entering early production. We do have a small set of changes to exotic weapons coming in Season 22 that we've been playtesting for the last few months, including the long-awaited PvP nerf to the Monarch, a buff to Touch of Malice, a couple of minor changes to other exotics, and some tweaks to legendary perks such as bipod, shoot to loot, and under over. Also, bear in mind that the zoom to damage fall off normalization and sword guard rework are coming in Season 22 and affect exotic weapons as well. We've pulled several well-tested changes from Season 22 into the Season 21 mid-season balance update, which we'll talk about shortly before it ships. As usual, we're making an exotic callus for an older exotic weapon in Season 22, and this one that's been heavily requested and is likely the most complex callus we've ever made. So what that basically tells me is we're gonna get an exotic catalyst that I think is gonna be Thorn. That's why we have Thorn gameplay in the background. But I'm also veering towards Monte Carlo just because it has a bayonet, and we do have glaives inside the game, so I think that would be a cool rendition, especially since they're saying that it is one of the most complex callus that we've ever made. Imagine being able to actually stab or melee with Monte Carlo. So guys, leave me a comment down below on what you think the exotic catalyst will be for. Do you think it'll be for Thorn, Monte Carlo, or do you have some other weapon in mind? I think it's gonna be Thorn. I really wanted a Thorn exotic catalyst, especially since the range is kind of terrible right now, and I used to love Thorn. Thorn was my favorite weapon until it got nerfed into oblivion. But other than that, leave me a comment down below what you think we will get exotic catalyst for. Now they also state here the process for exotic tuning is looking at pain points around over or underperforming weapons, and honestly just looking at the 20 least used exotic weapons. We poke at that list every season, and we have quite a few exotics in this game, whether it's armor as well as weapons. We have a lot of stuff that's added over time, and I believe at some point once you just add too much exotics, you kind of just run out of ideas. I think at some point you would eventually have to merge different exotics together. And you know, I know that we're already pretty powerful as it is, but imagine if we could merge different exotics together. I think that'd be fantastic. We could just make the game harder. Ain't that what Bungie usually does? Now we also had another interesting question from the dev insight team that revolved around kinetic weapons, and the question states, kinetic weapons seem to be falling behind as builds get more intricate. Are there any plans or ideas to make them more interesting to help integrate them into builds? Bungie stated, we've also noticed this. We've poked at this issue a little with the damage increase versus unshielded enemies and the kinetic tremors perk, which is a fantastic perk, by the way. If you don't have a weapon with it, Randy's throwing knife has kinetic tremors. Grind for one. But we've also prioritized shipping more strand and stasis weapons in the kinetic slot to equalize those numbers a little and ensure that all slots can tie into build crafting. We're continuing to look at kinetic and have something planned on the year of the final shape timeline that may make them a little more unique, but maybe it's time for that kinetic subclass. Probably not. Now that's a teaser. I think at some point we will possibly get another subclass, and you know, Bungie wouldn't say this for nothing. A kinetic subclass, that'd be very interesting. If you guys have any ideas of what that could pertain or what that could contain as far as like aspects or fragments, leave me a comment down below. But I think that is a very interesting outlier. Why would you say kinetic subclass? And you know, we may not get one, but I think it's very interesting, especially since they mentioned it here and they say that they also have something planned for the final shape. I think that's very interesting. And hey, if you guys didn't know, I am going to be giving away a free copy of the final shape. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel and I will have more details on that once the August 22nd Destiny Showcase is revealed, but I do plan on giving one copy away. So definitely subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. As I always say, it's a free way to support me. I greatly appreciate it. Now moving on from there, we do have another question from the community, and it states, Brood Weavers were intended to be the minion masters of Strand, but Threadlings can feel underwhelming in high-end content, especially with the potency of Suspend. Are there any plans to adjust this relationship going forward? And Bungie responded with, we're working on a two-pronged approach to this problem for Season 22. We agree that it can be hard for Threadlings to feel valuable as combatant health increases in higher difficulty PvE content. We also believe that Suspend is currently too strong in PvE. For Season 22, we're implementing a sizable increase in Threadling damage against PvE targets and reducing the duration and uptime of Suspend sources in PvE. In addition, we're making a change to the Broodweaver's newest strand aspect, the Wanderer, to address community feedback regarding its potency. Now I think the whole feel with Broodweaver, I think Bungie was really trying to go for that Necromancer feel, and Threadlings just don't have that capability with like Grandmasters or any type of content like that, and the Suspend is very powerful. You know, I did post a build with the Toxic Coyote build with the Hunter class. If you play a little bit more aggressive, you can always just continuously spam and suspend targets. The Titan has the same capability with its Barricade and the Avion Leap exotics, but the Warlock is kind of lackluster, and that's probably why you've seen me mainly playing with Titan and Hunter. I've mainly had builds for those just because of the fact that Warlocks are just not really there yet. They're the whales, pretty much. Anything that you do, hey, I need a well lock, I need a well lock, I need a well lock. And you know, you get tired of playing that same approach all the time, and I'm hoping that with this change, Broodweavers will be more impactful. Now, it's not to say there isn't any builds for Warlocks, there definitely is, but they don't have the potency to be able to compete for that higher tier difficulty compared to the Titans and the Hunters. They definitely have more approaches as far as builds go, and I think, I'm hoping that this new change that Bungie is going to do will actually make the Broodweavers more viable. Again, it doesn't state the sizable increase for Threadling damage, but I'm hoping it's enough to counteract some of the other classes in their builds. Now, like I said, I do have some Warlock builds coming out, and I am technically a Warlock main. That's really what I started with. That's what I was playing with for the longest amount of time. But as time goes on and different classes change, abilities change, you start to branch off and I guess experiment with different other builds. So that's pretty much what we've been doing and what you have seen on my channel with the Hunters and the Titan builds. But I am going to start working on Warlocks. It's just right now they just don't have that potency, and pretty much in any LFG that you look at, hey, I need a well lock. It's the same thing season after season. Hopefully it changes here in the future. Leave me a comment down below on what you think the damage increase will be for the Threadling damage once this goes live in Season 22. Now, another question that we got from the community is, can/will hand cannons get a buff? Not quite to Shadowkeep levels, but at least something. From the weapons team, note that hand cannons have been touched several times over the past few years, and the current PvE damage numbers mean that compared to pre-Shadowkeep, they currently deal roughly the same damage per crit and almost double the body damage. Reverting the Shadowkeep numbers would be a substantial nerf for anyone who ever misses a crit, which we're not planning to do. The overall balance of PvE has changed substantially over the last few years though, and some weapons have suffered as a result. We agree though, which is why hand cannons got an extra 20% damage increase inside of Season 20. This didn't move the needle as much as we'd like. Hand cannons still struggle to find a niche in PvE. Their damage output is comparable to other weapon types, but reload speed and a smallish magazine make it painful to run out of ammo. There's some room to bump them up a little more against minor enemies. So Bungie's resolution for the hand cannons is to increase reload speed at 0 stat by 15%. This benefit scales down at increasing stat, with 100 stat being unchanged. This is a substantial benefit to hand cannons with low reload stat, which includes several aggressive and precision hand cannons. They're also going to increase the PvE damage. increased damage against minors, red bars, by 20%, and increased damage against majors, orange bars, by 75%. Now this is crucial, especially since Malfeasant just got a catalyst, is performing very well, and it also has Vorpal weapon. So we will definitely be revisiting this once season 22 goes live, so definitely stick around for that. Now it looks like here we're going to get a brand new archetype for hand cannons called the Heavy Burst hand cannons. Change the Warden's Law legendary hand cannon, which if you don't have one, I feel bad for you, to be the first member of a new subfamily, Heavy Burst hand. This fires a 2-round burst and is overall much more satisfying to use than the previous version, while still benefiting from some of the unique properties of the original. Now, Warden's Law actually used to split the damage between 2 rounds, and it would still equate to the overall, crit values. Now, with them actually having a new subfamily, which is similar to what Graviton Lance received with the 2-round burst, as well as the heavy fire burst on Revision 0, it looks like they're starting to explore that realm with a 2-round burst for a lot of our other weapons. So this will be a beautiful change. I can't wait to see what other weapons they introduce in the game that are heavy burst hand cannons, but we will have to see. But the big thing, outlier for me, is with Malfeasant already having Vorpal weapon with the 20% damage bonus with the catalyst, if you got the catalyst to drop. And then it's also increasing the PvE damage against red bars and orange bars by 75%. That is huge. And if you pair that with Lucky Pants and the Hunter class, you will be putting out some substantial numbers just by using a hand cannon. So I'm very interested in this change. Let me know in the comments down below on what you guys think of this new hand cannon buff. Will you be using hand cannons more in PvE, or are you still shying away from them? Now, those were the standout questions from the Insight team and the community feedback. Of course, there are others, and I will leave a link in the comments down below for the TWID this week. Now, also, we do have some miscellaneous questions to go over. One question from the community was, can we favorite shaders soon, please? And Bungie stated, the rewards UI popping in here to answer this one. We're hesitant to talk too much about complex features that aren't far enough along to attach a specific release, but we are going to be sharing info, some new features in this vein real soon. And we also had another question, are there any details or confirmations regarding HUD and UI updates that were previously mentioned? We'll talk more about this when we have something to show closer to the final shape. Now, I believe pretty soon we will have the ability to be able to move around all of our HUD information as far as like super, where we want our grenade, where we want to put specific perk callouts or anything like that. Anything that involves your HUD, I believe very soon we'll be able to move it around and set it up the way that we want to. And like they say, they'll show more of that when we get closer to the final shape. Now, I also think that we will be able to favorite shaders soon. If you're like me, I have tons of them. I have pretty much every shader in the game, and it can be daunting to go back to some of the year 1 shaders and just have to keep going back through. And of course, I don't know them all by heart, so I kind of got to figure out which ones that I had on certain weapons and vice versa. But at some point, I do believe that we will get the ability to be able to favorite shaders and move around everything. If I want to put my super bar in the left corner, I can do that. If I want to put it in the right corner, I can do that. If I want to have my abilities and all my cooldowns and stuff to appear on the right side of the screen, I believe we'll be able to have that ability in the future. Now, of course, we are getting an LFG in game very soon, so we have a lot of things to look forward to. And like I said previously, I will be giving away a free copy of the final shape. Now, moving on from there, Bungie is celebrating Pride Month. If you didn't know, June is Pride Month for everyone, and they are giving away a new emote as well as last year's transmat of the rainbow. So if you'd like to pick up those items, they are free, and they do have the code corresponding with them, and I have them up here on this video as well. And I will be leaving a link to Bungie for the new TWID. I'm not used to calling it a TWID, but I will have that link, and you will be able to actually view everything that they have released this week, as far as like the movie of the week, all the fashion, drown in the drip, all that good stuff, as well as some of the other questions that I didn't feel were as important as the ones that I have included in this video. I don't want the video to be too long. I know I have a little trouble with that. I kind of get a little bit too far ahead. I kind of talk your ear off a little bit. So I want to make sure that my videos are withstanding. You know what I mean? You know, I don't want y'all to be sitting here for a half hour just listening to me rambling on with my southern football accent about issues that don't necessarily pertain to the specific news that I'm talking about right now. So everything that I've included in this video is what I have felt was important with the TWID bit this week. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, consider liking this content and also subscribing to my channel. It's a free way to support me. Like I said, I am giving away a free copy of the final shape, and we will be covering the Destiny 2 showcase on August 22nd. So definitely stick around for that. We will have this TWID bit every single week. It may not fall necessarily on Thursdays, like when the TWID actually drops, or like some of the other content creators, but I will have a simplified version to where I just pack in everything that I feel is most important, and we'll go from there. As always, I will have more builds out for all the different classes. I know I still have been shying away from the bow video. I still need to get to work on that, but with limited time to play, work, life, everything else, you know, I've kind of had to balance between all the new content that was released for Season of the Deep, as well as trying to post old content, you know, in regards to the bows. But that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to leave a like rating down below and consider subscribing to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. We do have Juneteenth holiday, as well as Happy Father's Day. All the fathers out there, happy Father's Day to you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you all in the next video.